my people watching this makeup homework, not makeup homework quiz, helping homework practice quiz things. Good luck!
And that would be Keely and Baird introducing our lovely video today. They have stuck around on a Friday afternoon. Her and a friend who chooses to remain unnamed is going to be joining me in the audience today as we get through this video. It is highly recommended. Yes. Alrighty. So students, I highly recommend you have 3 things on hand. Those 3 things. 1, your reference booklet should be handy. 2, you should get those Post-its handy because life doing this without Post-its is not happening. So get yourself some Post-its and get yourself a calculator here, folks. Free and easy. I will allow you to use a calculator for this. Okay. Alrighty. So students, as we do this, I'm going to be pointing out where you should be focused on your reference. So this entire page, we are focused on the central angle. So see if you can't complete my sentence. Measure of a central angle to its arc. Fabulous. So this one, you just sweep that angle, sweep the arc. It's a pizza slice here, folks. There's 2 additional things I recommend you watch out for. 1, sweep around, all the way around. Just make mental note, watch out for the simple stuff. Circles add up to
360.
Good. And the next thing you need to watch out here, folks, is diameters. When you see diameters, like in the one on the right, you first trace them. Then you stretch them out. And then you sweep the 180s. Trace, stretch, sweep. So if you just remember those 3 things, and those 3 things were measure of a central angle to its arc the same. Remember that circles add up to 360. And you watch out for your diameters, and you're in good shape for this page. Students, down here, these sweep marks mean that these are congruent. And warning, down below 3, I just don't want you to find the smaller arcs. I want you to also find these major arcs. So let me give you an example how to sweep an arc. G, J, I. That means go the long way around. So you start at G, you go through J, and you end at I. So that's how you sweep a major arc. You go in that exact order, and it's more than 360. So don't forget these 3 major arcs after you finish 3. Okay, next page. Now notice the little dotted line. This is the page in which we're using Post-its. So get your Post-its handy. And we're right here doing inscribed and 10 chords. And the reason why we're using Post-its is because anytime you have a vertex on, that's where you use a Post-it. Okay, so let's take a look here. I'm going to do this first one. I'm going to get you halfway through, and your goal is to find all things possible. Watch out for diameters again. So there's a diameter here. So let's trace, stretch, and sweep. This is what I recommend you watch out for. I'm going to write this in the margin. 1, watch out for diameters. 2, darken all your ons. 3, try to work arcs, then angles. And 4, then watch out for triangles. So for example, we just did our diameter. Now let's darken all our ons. Now we're going to try to go for arcs before angles. For example, sweep up 78. Come over here. You should easily be able to find that. I'm going to hesitate just for a second. You do your own math in the margin. And you should be getting 102. Okay, now we're going to start framing. So I'm going to mock up the Post-it note. So let's frame this 78 to this angle. So put a Post-it note right here. Put a Post-it note here. Frame it up. Always sweep the angle and sweep the arc. Sweep the angle and sweep the arc. Remember, anything you can frame, if you look on your reference booklet, that is arc divided by 2. So you already have that angle. Let me show you another spot where you should be framing. Don't overlook what we have here. Let's frame. We're going to frame basically the arc 102. So move your Post-it notes. We're working the ons. You do arcs, then angles. Sweep the angle, sweep the arc. Okay, there's more there you can find, so pause the video, finish the problem, and then restart. For this problem on the right, you're going to follow kind of the same order, but there's a new additional property you want to watch out for. And I'd like you to put this in the margin. Draw yourself a circle, and draw yourself an inscribed quad. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Here's the property. The angles opposite of each other always add up to 180. So if you have an inscribed quad, which in this case, GSRZ is an inscribed quad, that means the angles across from each other, like T and R, have to add up to 180. And then going this way, Z and S have to add up to 180. Now there's no diameter to work with. So for this one, you want to work with your ons. So let's try a very simple on here. I'd like you to frame Z, please. Frame Z. Here's my Post-it. So you're going to put one Post-it there. And one Post-it here. Frame Z. Now sweep the angle, sweep the arc it's grabbing. Physically sweep. Do not use your eyeballs, folks. Do not use your eyeballs. Physically sweep that arc. Physically sweep that arc. Okay, find the angle. Physically sweep it. And then once you get that one, you can easily find angle S, because these two guys have to add up to 180. And when you find that, you frame S, and then you keep finding other stuff until you are done. Try framing all 4 corners and find everything that you can. Remember, opposite angles have to add up to 180. So pause the video, restart when you're done. This one is also an on. So sweep the 240. Again, you always want to go for arcs first. The 240 you have, so the first thing obviously you want to find is that light blue. And once you find the light blue, go ahead and start framing stuff. For example, you could frame it D going this way. Sweep the angle, sweep the arc. Go ahead, pause the video, and find everything possible. Okay, next page. Notice we are shifting here, so now your eyeball is focused. We're just doing chords, which is angle equals arc plus arc over 2. Okay, so it's very important you get in the habit of physically tracing everything. For example, I'm going to color code this for you. This is going to be angle equals. I'm going to write this equation out. And it's in. Careful, it's not a central angle. It's in, so it's plus. And we're going to do arc plus arc over 2. So you sweep the arcs that those angles are grabbing. So they grab this 104 on one side, and then we grab this on the other side. What I mean by grab is the angles face those arcs. So that's what I mean by grab. Now you use your equation as a template and you circle plug tug. For example, circle that. So as you do circle plug tug, 1 to 1, that's how you do not lose track of stuff. Okay, pop that over 1, cross multiply, and solve. Pause the video. Welcome back. So the rest of the page is kind of the same thing. Angle equals arc plus arc over 2. Write down the equation every single time. Go ahead, show your work every single time. Be really careful here, folks. This angle here does not equal the arc because that's not in the center. It's in, but it's not centered. So if you put a 61 there, it's incorrect. It is angle equals arc plus arc over 2. Pause the video, finish, and then restart. Okay, this page, we are doing all of these ones that are out, out, out. So they all have the exact same equation. Angle equals big arc minus little arc over 2. So here's an example. Step 1 is you physically trace it. And you identify which 3 of these angles it is. This one right here is a secant, secant. So it's that guy right there. So now you go ahead and you write out your equation. And because it is out, outside, that's a minus sign over 2. And so we write angle equals big arc minus little arc over 2. And then you circle plug tug. So angle, you pick it up. We have the angle there. It's 51 equals big arc. That's your unknown minus little arc over 2. Pop that left over 1. Again, cross multiply and solve. Pause the video, finish that one, and then restart. Okay, students, for this one, again, let's physically trace it out. Everything, in this case, if it's out, it's a subtraction. That's the most important thing to remember there. It's going to be our angle here equals big arc minus little arc over 2. Physically sweep that. Obviously, you need to find that little arc, physically sweep it, and you'll figure out how to do that. Pause the video, then restart. Taking a look at this one gets a little bit trickier. Let's go ahead and write our equation out. So we have angle equals arc minus arc over 2. So let's sweep our big arc minus little arc over 2. Big arc minus little arc over 2. Let's go ahead and sweep what we have here. We have the angle, so our 75 is going to go over here. Let's sweep our big arc. Our big arc we don't know. Let's call it X. Now our little arc, there's a problem here. We don't know it either. But we're going to define it in terms of X. If we knew X, the blue would be 360 minus X. So the blue is that entity. So watch very carefully. We're going to minus the blue arc, which is 360 minus X. Then we pop this over 2 over 1. Watch very carefully. I'm going to do some of the algebra here with you. So we have here 75 times 2 equals, bring it down, X. Warning, because this whole thing is 360 minus X, that negative sign, we have to distribute. So now you collect like terms. Of course, we have 150 equals negative 360 plus 2x. You can finish it from there. What I recommend when you're done is make 3 little points. What was the 3 main steps to solve this problem? Because it's a little tricky. Okay, the next section, we want to solve for x and then find all possible arcs and angles. The main thing you need to know here is you do not just randomly shove the algebra together. You ask yourself, what is the relationship between the arcs and the angles? Do not just randomly toss the algebra together. So, step number 1 in this problem, don't overlook the obvious. We have ourselves here a diameter. So trace and stretch out that diameter. Now, let's sweep. That obviously adds up to 180. So we're going to have something that equals 180 here. Watch very carefully. We have this arc. Let's physically trace it. And that is obviously 8x minus 2. And we have this arc here. Problem is we don't have that arc. We don't have algebra there. We have this angle back here. So you have to ask yourself, this is an on, what is the relationship between the angle and the arc? Let's put this here. We know that the angle equals the arc over 2, or another way you can say it is 2 of the angles equals 1 of the arc. So if we have the angle 4x minus 13, the arc is going to be double. So the arc, you simply double 2 times 4x minus 13. And that's going to come up over here plus 2 times 4x minus 13. Obviously, you solve for x. Once you solve for x, you plug it in wherever you see x, and then check your numbers, and your numbers should work and fit together according to the properties that we have here. Pause the video, then restart. All right, take a look at this one. Here is the most common mistake. Students just see two angles and they randomly think they're equal, like this. And they go, ta-da, and they just solve for algebra. Do not randomly make stuff equal. Ask yourself very carefully, what is the relationship between that angle and this angle? And they are not equal. But we have ourselves an inscribed quad. And what we know about inscribed quads is that the opposite angles add up to 180. So angles opposite of each other add up to 180. So we can do this here. Something's going to add up to 180. Go ahead and let's trace this. They add up to 180. You solve for your algebra, plug it back in, and your numbers for those angles should add up to 180. Pause the video, finish, and then restart. Welcome back. Taking a look at this problem. Again, the number one mistake here is students just see two algebra problems and they go like this. Ta-da! They make them equal. No, be very careful. Geometry is not about the algebra, it's about the shape. So ask yourself, what is the relationship between this angle and this arc? Look at the angle and look at the arc. And we know we have key relationships here. We know that the angle is equal to half the arc. We also know this is true. We also know that 2 of the angles equals 1 of the arc. Now, we have 2 equations that we could use here. Let's see which one's the easiest to use. In general, you don't want to try to use fractions if you can avoid it. So we're going to use this one here. So we're going to circle plug chunk. 2 of the angles, so there's our angle right here. 2 parentheses, 20x plus 3 equals the arc, which is 41x plus 1. You talk about things before you talk about numbers. Solve for x, plug it in. If you do this correctly, the blue arc should be double of the red. Pause the video, finish, and then restart. Taking a look at this one. Let's start here by first tracing. And we know that this is a chord, so let's write out our equation first. Angle equals arc plus arc over 2. Angle equals arc plus arc over 2. Now let's circle, plug, chug. See what we can do here very carefully. Ready? Our angle is this. So we write 31x minus 3 equals the other arc. Sweep it. 5 plus 20x plus the other arc, 115 over 2. Pop that over 1. Solve for x. When you're done solving, plug it in and make sure your angles and arcs match this original diagram. Pause the video, then restart. Welcome back. Let's take a look at this one. This is out, so we know this equation is true. That the angle right there equals the big arc minus the little arc over 2. Now, very carefully, circle, plug, chug. Angle, 34x equals our big arc, 166, minus, be careful, there's a little bit of a trick here. We're minusing this entire arc, so be careful when you minus, you're minusing this as an entity. So we put parentheses there. We have 99x minus 1. And that's an entity, so keep the parentheses there. Now we cross multiply. So we're going to have 2 parentheses 34x equals 166 minus 99x minus 1. Be very, very careful. That negative sign has to distribute because you're subtracting this entire arc, not just 99x. That's minus 99x, and that's plus 1. You finish your algebra from there. Then you plug it in wherever you see x and make sure that your numbers coincide. Pause the video, then restart. Okay, for this last one, you need to finger track and read out loud. Show all your computations below, which means I should see lots of adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. And you're working this through. I suggest you follow these steps. So let me put them in margins here for you as you do this page. Okay, you might want to write this in the margin. Step number 1. Okay, find diameters. Trace and sweep all your diameters. Sweep the 180s. 2. Darken all your ons. 3. First find all arcs, then go for the angles. And when you go for the angles, start with the ons. For example, let's darken the ons together so you make sure you get them all. Ready? There's an on there, 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 and there. Wherever there is an on, you can frame. Let's stretch that out. That technically is going to be a tan cord. After you find your ons, you find arcs, you find your on angles. That'd be these guys right here. Anything you can frame with Post-its, that's all of these. Then you can work triangles for the inside. And last, I'm going to add one more, then do your outs. which are these guys. Follow that order and you won't get lost.